You know, some names, they're more than just names. They're legends. They're ghost stories you whisper in the dark. And in the history of American crime, I don't think any name echoes with as much darkness and as much mystery as Lizzie Borden. You think you know the story, but what if the story you know is the biggest mystery of all?
You've heard it, right? That creepy little rhyme. It's haunted schoolyards for more than 100 years. It's a simple, brutal jingle that just paints this picture of an absolute monster. It's short, it's memorable, and it has pretty much single-handedly defined who this woman was in our collective imagination.
And that is the question we're really here to dig into. Because when you strip away the legend, when you peel back the layers of that rhyme, you're left with a crime that is to this very day officially unsolved. And you're left with a story that honestly might reveal more about us than it ever will about what really happened on that terrible August day.
So, to even get close to the truth, we have to go back. Let's forget the rhyme for a minute. We're going to Fall River, Massachusetts. The date is August 4th, 1892. The air is just thick with this suffocating summer heat. And inside the Borden house at 92 2nd Street, something is terribly, terribly wrong.
Okay, so this is the timeline of that morning that everyone agrees on. The house was already on edge, people were sick from some mystery illness. In fact, Lizzie's stepmother, Abby, was terrified it was poison. By 11:10 that morning, 2 people in that house would be dead, and Lizzie Borden would be the only person, besides the maid, who was there during the estimated times of both murders.
First, there was Abby Borden. She was found upstairs, face down on the floor of the guest bedroom. She'd been struck 19 times with some kind of hatchet. The attack was so ferocious, it's likely that the very first blow killed her instantly.
And then, less than 2 hours later, her husband Andrew was found. He was downstairs, attacked while he was taking a nap on the sofa, struck 11 times. His face was, well, it was so mutilated he was almost unrecognizable.
Now, here's where the puzzle pieces start to not fit. A handleless hatchet was found in the basement, and it looked like it had been cleaned, and cleaned recently. But when police examined it, there was no trace of blood. And this is the first huge problem in the case. You've got 2 unbelievably brutal murders, but you have no confirmed murder weapon. You can just imagine the scene. The sheer brutality of the crime, combined with the fact that the main suspect was this quiet Sunday school teacher from a well-known family, it created a media firestorm. Lizzie Borden's trial wasn't just some local thing. It quickly became a national obsession. So the prosecution's job was to completely repaint the picture of who Lizzie Borden was. Not a good, dutiful daughter, but a woman with a clear motive and the opportunity to act on it. They argued she couldn't stand her stepmother, that she burned a dress to destroy bloody evidence, and that she'd even tried to buy poison just days before the murders. It was a really compelling story, but it was all circumstantial. The defense, well, they had a really simple but powerful strategy. Just create doubt. First, they presented Lizzie as this woman of high social standing, a devout churchgoer who was just incapable of something so horrible. And then they went on the attack. Where's the bloody weapon? Why wasn't there a single drop of blood on Lizzie's clothes? They basically painted a picture of a totally botched investigation, arguing there was zero hard evidence linking Lizzie to the crime. 1 hour. That's it. After a trial that held the entire nation captive, the jury only needed 60 minutes to find her not guilty of all charges. Lizzie Borden walked free. And no one else was ever charged with the murders. The case was officially closed. And the real mystery was just beginning. And this is where the story gets truly fascinating. If a court of law said she was innocent, why did the court of public opinion, in that creepy little rhyme, insist that she was guilty? The answer, it seems, lies somewhere in that murky space between a person and a legend. This is really the heart of it all. You have these 2 completely different Lizzie Bordens. On one side, you have the actual person, acquitted by a jury, inherited a lot of money, but was basically shunned by her community. She lived out the rest of her life in Fall River, but she could never escape the shadow of that trial. And on the other side, you have the legend, the axe murderer, the star of rhymes and nightmares, a permanent fixture in American folklore. And these 2 Lizzies have just existed side by side ever since. You see, the verdict left this vacuum. The public wanted a killer, but the legal system didn't give them one, so the press stepped in. This was the dawn of yellow journalism,
and newspapers filled that void with a story of guilt. They solidified Lizzie's monstrous reputation in the public mind, no matter what the jury said. So, over the next century, the legend of Lizzie Borden proved to be absolutely irresistible to writers and artists. Her story basically became this blank canvas, a text just waiting to be rewritten and reinterpreted. And each new version tells us something new. Okay, so this brings us to a really fascinating idea called historiographic metafiction. It's a bit of a mouthful, I know, but the concept is actually pretty simple. It's fiction that doesn't just tell a historical story, it asks us how historical stories get told in the first place. It blurs that line between fact and fiction to get you to question the very nature of truth. And Lizzie Borden, this woman who is legally innocent but publicly condemned, is the absolute perfect subject for it. So for instance, take the Canadian playwright Sharon Pollock. She completely reimagines Lizzie. Not as a monster, but as a kind of feminist hero. In her play, the murders become this act of rebellion against a brutally oppressive father. Lizzie isn't a villain anymore. She's a revolutionary.
But then you get a completely different take. The writer Angela Carter uses the story to explore a woman's capacity for raw, unadulterated violence. Her Lizzie is not a hero. She's cold, she's calculating, and she is absolutely 100% guilty. Carter isn't interested in trying to justify the act. She wants to get inside the mind of the killer.
And this just illustrates the point perfectly, right? These two versions, hero and monster, they show us that the Lizzie Borden story has become a kind of mirror. Each time it's retold, it just reflects the anxieties of that time. Our worries about gender roles, about dark family secrets, and about the way we even write and understand our own history.
So after all this time, the trial, the facts, the fictions, what are we really left with? Well, we're left with a crime that will probably never be solved, and a story that will probably never die.
We've seen Lizzie Borden as all of these things, haven't we? The quiet churchgoer, the victim of a tyrannical father, the brutal killer from the rhyme, the feminist icon. She is a total contradiction, a real person who was completely consumed by her own legend. In the end, maybe the endless search for what really happened to Andrew and Abby Borden isn't the point anymore. The crime itself remains a mystery, but the story is more alive than ever. And that leaves us with the most haunting question of all. In the case of Lizzie Borden, what does it say about us? That we're the ones who can't stop telling her story.